YouTube, you ready? That's a thumbs up. Marion, we good? Okay. Good morning, everybody. I'm going to call to order a regular meeting Tuesday, May 18th, 2021 at 10 a.m. All three supervisors are here in Globe. The sheriff is here today. Would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? And after that, our invocation will be given by Nick Montague. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dear Heavenly Father, we're thankful for this day and thankful that the Board of Supervisors are able to meet. And we ask that you have your Spirit to be with them, to help guide them in deciding what is best for the county, and ask that it will be just. And say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thank you. Okay, we'll get started. Public hearings. 2A, information discussion action to adopt Gila County Ordinance Number 2021-01- open outdoor fire, which repeals ordinance number 2020-02. Open outdoor fires and any ordinance previously adopted by the Board of Supervisors pertaining to an open outdoor fire. Good morning, Jackie.
Good morning, Supervisors, Mr. and Mr. Chairman. So, a little bit of backstory. You can tell by the number that we're repealing, the 2020-02, that back in August, if you will recall, we adopted a new open outdoor fire ordinance. We had spent about a year, maybe a little over a year, discussing updating from the 2011 ordinance that didn't match, our ordinance at the time didn't match in form and function what the Forest Service is currently doing with stages. And in reviewing what we ban with our open outdoor fire, it more closely matches the Tonto National Forest Stage 2 ban. The Stage 1 ban simply says you can only have a open fire in a pit, in a Forest Service provided pit, but it, in effect, back in August, what we have adopted, the ordinance that we adopted back in August made it that our ordinance goes into effect when the Tonto Forest goes into Stage 2, because our restrictions more closely match the Stage 2 restrictions. In that year of discussion, I made an error on the final one that I brought to the board, and I left in 13 words that present a problem for the Sheriff's Office under the applicability clause. And so I'm asking today that we adopt a new ordinance, and we went through a whole process of do we amend, but this is the language that we need to use so that all of the ordinances prior are repealed, and this is the ordinance that applies. So the new ordinance 2021-01, and it takes 13 words out of the applicability line. So if we'll pull up the new one, the 2021-02. 2021-01, the first one, you'll see that it just changes the applicability and takes out the words areas under the jurisdiction of the United States and the state of Arizona. And we published in the newspaper, this is our public hearing. I also notified all of the fire districts through their association that we would be bringing this back to take that line out.
Okay,
Are there any questions?
Supervisor Christensen, do you have questions or comments?
Thank you.
You turned it back off.
No.
Now you are.
Now I'm on.
There
Thank
you
you,
go.
Yes,
Mr.
sir.
Chairman.
You got the floor and you're on. Yeah.
Thank you, Mrs. Sanders. So I did speak with you this last week, so I don't think I really have any questions. Thank you.
You bet.
Supervisor Klein.
No, I'm good, Jackie. Thanks.
Okay, then I'll open it up to public hearing. Do we have anyone in Payson that would care to comment on our ordinance?
No, sir.
Do we have anyone on YouTube? No, sir. And I see no one here. So I will close the public hearing and I'll call for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move to adopt Gila County Ordinance Number 2021-01.
And I'll second that.
Having a motion and a second, all in favor do so by saying aye.
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 Thank you.
Aye. Item was approved unanimously. Thank you, Jackie. Moving on to public hearing 2B, information discussion action to adopt resolution number 21-05-01 to name South Amy Lane in the Tonto Basin area. Mr. Tom Holman, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. This is just another road naming. It does not have any applicability to county road maintenance. The parcels in Tonto Basin are splitting frequently through minor land division, and we just have to provide access to them for 911 purposes. I'll entertain any questions.
Supervisor Christensen.
Thank you. No questions.
Me neither,
Supervisor
Tom.
Lane?
Thanks.
No? Okay, so the name is going to be Amy Lane?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, because okay. Good enough then. I have no other questions, and so I will open it to the public for a public hearing. Do we have anyone in Payson that has any issue with this road?
No.
How about on YouTube? And we have no one here, so I will close the public hearing, and I will call for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'll make the motion to adopt resolution number 21-05-01.
And I will second that.
Having a motion second, all in favor do so by saying aye.
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 Aye. Item was approved unanimously. Public hearing 2C, information discussion action to authorize the submittal of a CDBG-CV emergency and transitional shelter application to the Arizona Department of Housing in the amount of $650,000 for the proposed transitional housing project in Gila County and adopt related certifications and the disclosure report. Jackie Sanders, good morning.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and board members.
Okay.
The CDBG program has received additional federal funding related to the pandemic, and these funds are identified for transitional emergency housing, homeless, to benefit homeless and those that are nearly homeless. It's a federal pass-through grant, comes to the Arizona Department of Housing, ADOH, and they, in conversation with them, they prefer that government entities that have experience with CDBG and financial reporting requirements make the application to them and then either hold the grant or provide it to subgrantees that are nonprofits. In Gila County, we have always chosen to provide it to subgrantees, nonprofits. So this is the first of two that we likely will be bringing to you. This one is for a $650,000 rehabilitation of an existing facility to provide emergency and transitional shelter in the Globe area. There's a second nonprofit that's getting their paperwork together, and we likely will be back in front of you for that application. That one will be about $1.8 million for obtaining the property and beginning the rehab for similar transitional housing. That one will be in Payson. This one is today is our third public hearing. There have been two prior public hearings on this particular grant, and let me see if I forgot anything. This will rehab 6 units initially and provides the infrastructure to provide at least 6 additional. But the existing facility needs a lot of infrastructure assistance to be able to be used for transitional housing. And I'll answer any questions.
Thank you. Supervisor Christensen.
Thank you, Ms. Sanders, this is a grant. It's not counting the cost, not costing the county anything.
This is a grant that has no match. We will keep a piece of this funds for the administration piece because we will have to administer and do the financial reporting.
Okay, and then we're purchasing a building, right?
Not with this grant.
Not with this grant. Okay. All right, the next one.
This particular one, the nonprofit already has the facility. This is just to do infrastructure and rehab of the facility to make it, like rental units.
Sure. Okay, thank you.
Supervisor Klein.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Jackie, I think the only question I'd have is, since we're going to be the overseers of this money, are we going to need any additional staffing to help oversee it, or are we good?
My understanding is that we will be able to handle this with our existing staff.
Thank you, Jackie.
And this is a pass-through for a nonprofit organization, correct?
Yes.
If that nonprofit is, for some reason, to disperse, what kind of bag are we going to be holding?
So thank you, Mr. Chair. That was a good question, and a good question that you asked last week, so we know the answer to. They have to, federal dollars come with a little bit of hook. It has to stay for the purpose of transitional and emergency shelter for 5 years. And in the event that a nonprofit were to, for some reason, disband, we would either find a comparable nonprofit that has this as their mission, or we would take it back. We have to guarantee that it's going to stay for this purpose for, I believe, at least 5 years.
Thank you very much. Okay, then I'll open it up for public hearing. Do we have anyone in Payson that would care to comment?
No, sir.
Anyone on YouTube? And we have no one here. So if there's no more questions from the board, I'll close the public hearing. And
Mr. Chair, I will say that the first public hearing, we had 3 folks show up. The second public hearing, we had 11 show up. So there has been public interest in the prior 2 public hearings.
okay, good, thank you. Okay, then I'll close the public hearing, call for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll make that move to authorize the submittal of the CDBG-CV Emergency Transition Shelter application and adopt related certifications and disclosure report.
And I'll second that.
Having a motion and a second, all in favor do so by saying aye.
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 Thank
Item
you.
was approved unanimously. Thank you. And we'll move on to public hearing 2D, information discussion action to consider a liquor license application county number LL-21-02 submitted by Sheila Lane Markham for the transfer of a Series 10 beer and wine license with an interim permit to operate at Jake's Corner Store, 57510 North Highway 188 in Payson, and issue a recommendation to the Arizona Department of Liquor License and Control whereby the license should be granted. Okay, Marion, good morning.
Thank you, Chairman Humphrey and board members. This is a transfer of ownership of the Jake's Corner store and also a transfer of the liquor license. It does require a public hearing. There has been no written objection that I've received, so I just would ask that you go on with the public hearing.
Okay,
Thank you.
I thank you very much. Do we have any questions, Supervisor Christensen, or comments?
Thank you, Chairman. No, I have no questions.
Supervisor Klein?
Neither do I. Thank you.
Do we have any comments from Payson?
No, sir.
Do we have any on YouTube? And we have none here, so I will close the public hearing and I'll call for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'd make the motion to recommend that the Arizona Department of Liquor Licenses and Control approve the application submitted by Sheila Lynn Markham as presented.
I will second that.
Having a motion and a second, all in favor do so by saying aye.
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 Aye. Item was approved unanimously. Okay, that does it for public hearings. We will go on to number 3, regular agenda items. 3A, information discussion action to approve the use of State of Arizona Procurement Office contract number ADSP 017-166-124 with Santan Ford in the amount of $131,570 for the purchase of two 2021 Ford Expeditions SSVs with installed equipment. Matthew Binney. Good morning.
Good morning, Chairman, members of the board. Just coming back before you guys for the purchase of these two vehicles through state contract through Santan Ford. They, for the price of $131,570. Do you guys have any questions for me?
Yeah, I do in a minute. Supervisor Christensen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just so that I understand how this process works, where does this $131,000 come from?
So this was grant funding through Proposition 207 GOHS funds.
Okay, thank you.
And, yeah, the board, I apologize. Yeah, the board.
That's what I thought, though. Thank you.
Approved that last time, yeah.
Supervisor Klein.
I think I'm good. Thank you.
I just have one, and I don't know if you can answer it or not, but I spoke with McSpadden Ford, and they said on some of these packages, like especially the Expedition, is they are calling for a specific tire that he was unable to get. And so I was just checking to be sure that, or to question the fact that if another dealership is able to bid this package with this tire, I was just being sure that all the specs were met on these through that dealership.
So, Mr. Chairman, what I can say to that is, in this case, because of the time frame and because of the way the grant was written, we had to purchase the vehicles before the end of the year.
Right.
Santan Ford was the only one that was able to get the vehicles here within that time frame.
Okay.
As far as the tires for the vehicles, we generally have purchased them how they come from the dealer in the past.
Right.
But we find out the tires don't hold up, especially on the Young Road.
Right.
And other roads like that.
Sure.
We end up having to replace the tires before the time frame. So I'm not sure as far as, I would think McSpadden could probably be able to get the same tires that we're requesting. This one, it was just a time frame thing.
Okay.
Getting
Yeah.
the vehicles before the end of the year.
They said on the Expeditions that they were unable to obtain those tires. So I was just checking and probably get with maintenance and see if it's not something down the road. If we can get the tires, maybe it'll help the bidding field be more fair if we do the tire into the deal. But that's all I had. I didn't expect you to know the answer to that. So, okay. If there's no further questions, I'll call for a motion.
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the use of the State of Arizona Procurement Office contract number ADSPO P017-166-124 as presented.
And I'll second that.
Having a motion, a second, all in favor do so by saying aye.
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 Aye. Item was approved unanimously. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Moving on to 3B, information, discussion, action to adopt resolution number 21-05-02 in support of a grant application being submitted by the Auction Indian community by the Hells Gate Fire District in the amount of $53,932.36 to purchase a new 4x4 SUV vehicle that can respond to 911 calls for the district, and which authorizes Gila County to act as a physical agent by agreeing to be a pass-through agent and accept funding on behalf of the Hells Gate Fire District. Mary Springer, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members, supervisors. We do have Chief Morris up in Payson, and this is a grant for Hell's Gate, so I'd like to turn the time over to Chief Morris.
Good morning, Chief. Go right ahead.
Chairman, Board of Supervisors. Thank you for letting me come in today. As we have done in the past, we are asking for board approval to be able to submit to the Auction Indian community for Prop 202 funding for the need of actually getting a 4x4 SUV to be able to replace older vehicles that are currently in our fleet, or at least to replace one of them. This vehicle will be used pretty much throughout the northern Gila County area in both automatic and mutual aid assignments to be able to carry personnel, equipment, and other needed items and have radio communications and so forth to be able to support our goals of being able to make our community safer and take care of 911 calls.
Thank you very much. Supervisor Christensen, do you have any questions?
Thank you, Chairman. No questions.
Supervisor Klein?
I don't either. Thank you.
Okay. If there's no further questions, I'll call for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'd make the motion to adopt resolution number 21-0502.
I will second that.
Having a motion and a second, all in favor do so by saying aye.
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 Aye. Item was approved unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
You have the next one, too? All right. We're going to see information, discussion, action to approve a single source contract with Federal Compliance Consulting, LLC, Bruce Addison, Esquire, in a not-to-exceed amount of $40,000 with an option to renew the contract for 4 years, for 4-year periods to provide redistricting legal consulting services. Mary, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members, supervisors. A couple months ago, we talked a little bit about redistricting, and our thoughts were not to spend a fortune hiring a consultant, but in consultation with Jackie Sanders, County Manager, Eric Mariscal, redistricting is very critical to the county, needs to be done right. We need to make sure that we have an attorney review the documents prior to submittal to make sure we have the best chance at having everything approved through DOJ. So with that being said, we contacted Bruce Edelson, who worked with the county in 2010. Prior to that, he was Department of Justice. He was on the other side of the table scrutinizing the redistricting process as it came through. So he's had the experience with Gila County. He's had the experience with DOJ. What we want to do is issue a not-to-exceed contract so that when we do consult with them, we have an hourly rate. So we don't have to eat up the whole $40,000. We can use them on an as-needed basis for just those critical tasks to help get us through the redistricting process. So we're asking for board approval on that contract.
Thank you. Supervisor Christensen, do you have comments or questions?
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Mary. I do, just to clarify a couple things, please, so I understand what Bruce Edelson will be doing. And then is the next agenda item a person that is going to be doing some of the redistricting, or is that going to be done in-house? How are we actually doing the nuts and bolts of the redistricting?
Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Christensen, the plan is to have a consultant do the outreach and the public piece. We have a software package that the mapping package that was used in the last redistricting to where the public can go in and draw their own maps and submit them. We do plan on the consultant, which is the next agenda item, if the board approves, to work with an advisory committee to help collect the public input and then present, once everything is put together, present to the board.
Okay, thank you.
This contract is to do the legal T's and C's and make sure things are compliant and work with this other consultant if the board approves.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Supervisor Klein.
So this consulting company, Mary, they were involved in the first or the last mapping and all that?
Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Klein, yes.
So as screwy as our boundaries are, should we look for somebody else?
The word contiguous. It's screwy, but it's also contiguous.
Okay, so this guy's had some experience, so that's in this.
Yes, he's worked with the county. He's worked with Eric Mariscal. He's worked with the prior advisory committee, and he worked with the consultant that we paid a lot of money the last go around.
So you don't anticipate it going over $40,000 for this consulting service?
No.
Okay, thanks.
I guess the only question that I had is we have a time limit on when we need to get our redistricting done. Is that correct?
That's correct, Mr. Chairman. It was extended. It was December 1st, and then because of COVID and the fact that the census data is not available to us yet, it was extended to July 1st of 2022.
Okay, then my next question is contract for 4 one-year periods. Is it going to take 4 years to get through this if we have a deadline on it?
Mr. Chairman, that's only if we exercise those extensions. We put it in there. The chance is absolutely not, but it's there. We don't have to come back to you for a new contract. We have them if we want to exercise. If for some unforeseen reason it goes beyond July 1st, we still have legal counsel on the hook for as long as it takes if we
Okay.
choose to extend their contract.
Okay, so by approving this, we're not approving just to go ahead and approve it for another year if it goes over the 40,000. It'll have to come back to us if it goes over the 40,000.
Mr. Chairman, yes, it'll come back to you.
Okay. Thank you very much. If there's no further questions, I'll call for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve professional services contract number 0502221 with Federal Compliance Consulting, LLC.
And I'll second that.
Having a motion, a second, all in favor do so by saying aye.
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 Aye. Item was approved unanimously, and you got the next one.
Thank you. The next one is,
Okay, hold on. Let me read it first.
oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I'm getting ahead of you.
That's all right. We're good. Information discussion action to approve professional services contract number 05012021 with James M. Feeser for consulting services for the redistricting public process in a not-to-exceed amount of $50,000 with an option to renew the agreement for 1 year. Again, Mary Springer, thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
You
Chairman.
have the floor.
Member supervisors, this is kind of the other piece of that partnership. James Mack Feeser was on the advisory committee. He served in a volunteer capacity in 2010. He worked with our elections department and the committee, but I can't remember the lady's name. Elections director. Oh, Linda Eastlick, sorry. I wasn't here back then. But worked with that group of folks in a volunteer capacity. So he sat in on those meetings. He helped develop a tool, which is an Excel spreadsheet where he downloaded all the census data so they could make sure that the maps that were submitted did meet the requirements of compliance. So he's had extensive knowledge. He lives in Gila County. He's willing to be our consultant in this process as opposed to a volunteer. We felt that with his knowledge, his experience, and the tool that he created, that he was a good fit as a consultant to help lead us in this process. Again, there's a lot of moving parts to it. We're kind of like the helpers for MAC, so we would help MAC with making sure we take minutes and properly document things, but he would actually run the public outreach piece of the redistricting process and make sure that we meet all the requirements of what has to happen. So we're asking the board to award him a contract to do that, be our consultant.
Thank you very much. Supervisor Christensen.
Thank you, Mary. No, I don't have any questions.
Supervisor Klein.
So, Mary, he would be kind of at the lead of the advisory committee that we put in place, right? I mean, he would be the leader of that?
He would be like the Tony Sissons from the last go-around, the consultant that we hired to kind of guide the committee. They run, the committee runs the process, but they make sure that they meet all the check marks so that they've done it all the way it should be and meet those requirements.
So then he'd be the one, if there's any reporting back to us, he'd be the one bringing that back to us or whatever?
It would probably be the advisory committee, the chair or the co-chair.
Okay. Eric's nodding his head.
He's integral part of the process.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, so we're still going to put together an advisory committee that he's going to kind of oversee?
That's the plan, Mr. Chairman. We really want a transparent process. We want a public process. We want as much input as we can get. That's why the mapping tool will be available to the public. So he will kind of shepherd that advisory group to make sure that they've met all the requirements, that we haven't missed a step along the way.
Okay, then we're going to have a work session or something on the committee?
Yes, you will. Getting these two pieces in place prior to, we were hoping that Mr. Adelson would be able to come and kind of walk the board through the redistricting process, so that way everybody has a good feel of kind of what's going to happen, how it works.
Okay.
He's having surgery, so number one, we had to get his contract in place. Now that you've approved that, we can contact him, see when he can be available to come and walk through the whole redistricting process.
Okay, yeah, thank you, because I've had people want to be on the committee and want to know how many were on the committee and things of that nature. And so now that we've kind of opened up that bag, I'm sure that people are going to be contacting me. So I was just trying to get information so I could have answers. So I thank you very much for your presentation. And did that cause any more questions? No? Okay, then I'll call for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'll make the motion to approve professional services contract number 05012021 with James M. Feeser.
A second?
Having a motion second, all in favor do so by saying aye.
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 Aye. Item was approved.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Moving on to E, information, discussion, action to approve various intergovernmental agreements to jointly cooperate in Gila County 2021 Summer Work Employment Program with the following entities: City of Globe, 7,000; Town of Miami, 14,000; Town of Winkleman, 14,000; Town of Hayden, 17,500; Town of Payson, 14,000; and Young Public School, 10,500. Kathy Melvin, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. This agenda item is asking for the board's approval and the chairman's signature on the IGAs that were just listed. And this is our typical every year summer work program where these entities, the county posts the jobs, the entities all receive a certain number of workers, and they pay the kids through the summer, and then they submit an invoice at the end of the summer work period, and the county reimburses them for the workers. And you probably all saw the flurry of emails last week. We were really worried about we didn't have enough kids. And Candy Bell and HR told me this morning we do have right now about 50 applicants, so we're good. We have a total of, I think it's 39 positions between all the communities, and we actually do the outreach and everything and interviewing for the communities. The City of Globe, I'll give you the kind of the rundown of how many. The City of Globe is 4 workers, Town of Miami 4 workers, Town of Hayden 5, Town of Winkleman, 5. Town of Winkleman 4, Town of Payson 4, and Young Public School is 3. The City of Globe, City of Globe is, we're paying them for 2 workers. They pay for 2 workers. So we select 4 and send them over there, but then they invoice us for 2 and they take care of it. Town of Payson has always said from the beginning of this that they would also match. So if the county paid for 4, the town would pay for 4. Unfortunately, we don't get that kind of a response in Payson, so Payson has never been able to match to have 8 workers. But anyway, we keep striving for it. Every year we get more and more response up there, so we keep working towards that. Any questions?
Supervisor Christensen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, Kathy, this is to employ the kids for how long?
They work for 6 weeks, and they make minimum wage. We don't pay sick days or the 4th of July.
Okay. All right.
And they're supervised by the communities, which is the way our county insurance pool said that it would work the best. And then like I said, we reimburse them at the end of the 6-week period. It's worked very, very well over I think this is the 3rd or 4th year with the IGAs.
So what would be a tool that we could use to help increase the number in Payson?
I don't know.
So
we've tried.
Should we
tried
be
Facebook.
in the paper more, or should we be on the radio more?
We have
in the schools?
We have been on Facebook. We've gone to the schools, we've gone to the newspaper. Last weekend, we paid for 30 radio spots to just continually push it, because on the next agenda item, we have other kids for another partnership we're recruiting for. So I think that probably helped with the flurry of applicants over the weekend. Part of the problem, I think, too, is that the kids are thinking about the end of the year. They're thinking about graduation, summer, and that's typically we do get them to apply kind of late. This year, we extended again for a week. It should have ended May 10th, but we extended it one additional week to May 17th. So we can work with you over the next year. We'd love to be able to recruit more kids up there.
That'd be great.
I think they have more options for employment up in Payson, too, than they do down here.
Yep, if I can help, I will.
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Supervisor Klein.
Yeah, the only thing I'd chime in there and say is last year we had, what, over 70 applicants?
Yes.
And we were digging hard to get 30 plus a week ago. So there has been an increase, and Supervisor Christensen, I think that would be great if between me or you one come next year, we really did trying to get into the school, to the ag teachers or whoever it is, and try and push up there pretty hard. Winkleman and Hayden, we usually always have a pretty good turnout on kids. Young's been a little tough. Miami and Globe, I think we did all right in Miami and Globe this year.
Miami and Globe, usually the response down here is always a lot better than just about any place else. And I think they're more used to the work programs, but in my past life and working in workforce, Payson was tough back then too. So I don't think that's changed. I don't think there's anything really different. It's just, I think they do have more chances for employment up there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and just a question I had too is maybe with probation, some of our troubled youth, would they be able to apply?
Yes, there's no eligibility requirements, so yeah, any of them.
Maybe that if we could contact our probation department, maybe they have some troubled youth that don't put in because they don't think they qualify. So maybe that would help some of it as well.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. If there's no further questions, I'll call for a motion.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. I move to approve the various intergovernmental agreements as presented for the 2021 Summer Work Employment Program.
And I'll second that.
Having a motion and a second, all in favor do so by saying aye.
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 Aye. Item was approved unanimously. Thank you, Kathy. Moving forward. Uh-oh, you got the next one too, don't you? Oh, you're going to make him do it. Okay. Information, discussion, action to approve the agreement between Gila County and Conservation Legacy in the amount of $70,000 for 1 year to fund 2 youth conservation corps crews to be based in Payson and Globe. Supervisor Klein, I guess this is yours.
I think she dumped it on me, didn't she?
She did. She sat down and said, "You
did.
got the podium. You've already got the mic." Bub.
Okay, no problem. So this is working basically with the Forest Service, and what it was this is a crew we pushed on last year really hard, and they were able to get some grant funding through the YCC program in the region, and the crew was in Payson. And so we had a crew up there. We really worked hard with them. We helped sponsor it and everything else, and thought we were on the right road. But somewhere along the way, inside the government, somebody missed the boat, and no one got their grant funding for this year. They lost it all. And so we went back because of as well as it turned out last year, went back with them and got with them and said, hey, let's work together and see if we can't keep these crews going. And in addition to Payson, we also pushed for one here in Globe, which I don't know that it's been a lot of years since Globe's had a YCC crew, basically. So we were able to get that approved, working with the Forest Service for the projects and working with the Conservation Corps to run the crews and stuff. There again, we were really sweating it because of the applicant turnout this year. But what it looks like is we're probably going to have enough to get those crews funded. And we're really pushing to have the local kids on local area kids on here. We may dip down and get a couple non-local kids in there just to fill the crews. But I think we can do it. We can pull that together, and it'll be a go. Hopefully after this, they kind of pull together in the government and get that grant money going again, and they're well on their way. So, willing to answer any questions. If I can't answer them, Kathy can.
Supervisor Christensen.
Thank you, Supervisor Klein. So how many kids are on these crews?
I think we're looking at 4 each right now, aren't we? 6. Okay.
6?
So,
and
yeah.
what did they do? Just civic activities? Or?
No, see, that's the advantage of working with the Forest Services, because they have the different departments like range, wildlife, recreation, timber. And so what they're scheduled is they'll be scheduled for a week in one department, a week in another one, and so forth. So, which is really a cool deal, especially if a kid is thinking in getting into that line of work. And they'll work them through that 6 weeks between the different functions. And so it won't be the same thing day in and day out, basically.
And so the $70,000 is largely to pay travel, expenses, meals,
the kids,
wages, this and that.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yeah, the only comment I have again is if we have a difficult time filling positions, maybe we have some troubled youth that would be good for them to get them going in a different direction. So,
And Mr. Chair, you know what we could do? I don't know that we've really reached out to Chief Lassard up there in Payson with the detentions, or with basically a teen center now. But
right.
That would be a good outlet right there that either me or you, Supervisor Christensen, could get with him and put that out there, because he's going to see a lot of kids coming through that.
Oh, yeah, and he's extremely active and willing to help the troubled kids, and a job might be a good thing for him. So, good deal. And so I guess if there's no further comments on that, then I'll call for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'll make the motion to approve the agreement between Gila County and Conservation Legacy in the amount of $70,000.
I will second that.
Having a motion and a second, all in favor do so by saying aye.
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 Aye. Item was approved unanimously. Moving on to G, information, discussion, action to approve a utility easement and line extension agreement between Gila County and Arizona Public Service Company, whereby the county will grant an easement to APS. Chris, good morning, Chris.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Board of Supervisors. I'm here to ask for approval today for this utility easement. The easement is for Arizona Public Service at our new Gila County Animal Care and Control Building. We have already installed the conduit in-house with our facility team, but before APS will run the wire, put on the transformer, and energize, they need to have the signed easement. So, do you have any other questions? I'm here.
Okay, Supervisor Christensen.
Thank you, Chairman. No, I have no questions.
Supervisor Klein.
I'm good. Thank you, Chris.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and I have no questions. I will call for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve a utility easement and line extension agreement between Gila County and APS Company.
I got it. Second?
I'll second that.
Having a motion and a second, all in favor do so by saying aye.
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 Aye. Item was approved. Thank you very much, and good job out there. It looks great.
It is going to be a nice building.
It is. Okay, moving on to H, information, discussion, action to increase the amount of Sourcewell Caterpillar Empire Southwest LLC contract agreement, Sourcewell number 032119, CAT by $160,000 for the repairs of heavy equipment, making a total agreement amount of $560,000 through the current term ending August 16th, 2021. Good morning, Steve.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. The Sourcewell agreement it's a national agreement the county's part of. Different agencies belong to it, and we get discounted purchasing power through it, reduced fees. Caterpillar is one of the agencies that belong to it. We purchase all of our filters, repairs, equipment, machines through Caterpillar for this. Currently, it's a $400,000 contract that you approved last August. There's about $86,000 left on the contract to get us to this August. We've had two major breakdowns on pieces of equipment, a bulldozer at Buckhead Mesa and a motor grader in the northern part of the county. Estimated repairs around $60,000 each for the equipment. They're too intricate for us to wait till August, especially with as dry as it is and where they may be needed if something happens. So this is to ask you to increase that contract so we can immediately begin the work on. We could go straight to Empire and not use the Sourcewell contract. If we do that, we're looking at anywhere from 10 to 30% additional fees because of the Sourcewell discount. Happy to answer any questions you have.
Supervisor Christensen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, Mr. Sanders, these are just unexpected repairs that came up.
Chairman Humphrey, Supervisor Christensen, yes. Motor grader seized up going down the road. No idea what the engine went out on the bulldozer.
Okay.
And both pieces of equipment are too much life left in them to scrap and start over.
Okay. And do we have any funds that just sit somewhere for these kind of occasions, or we don't?
We do. We always have repair money in reserve. Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Supervisor Klein.
So, Steve, is this HERF dollars we're going to use for this?
Yes and no. I'm sorry, Chairman Humphrey, Supervisor Klein. HERF dollars will take care of the motor grader. Landfill dollars will take care.
Okay.
Enterprise dollars will take care of the dozer.
So then after we get these fixed and back, then our Sourcewell contract will go back to 400,000. Is that what it is?
It's at 400,000 now. It will go down to zero. I will be back to you in August to ask for probably ask for more money because we are budgeting for new equipment, and new equipment will come through the Sourcewell contract. Currently, all of our payments on equipment, a couple of years ago we bought a scraper at $400,000. That came through the Sourcewell contract, so $90,000 payment every year comes out of it. We're paying on a motor grader, so that type of stuff.
Okay. Thanks, Steve.
I have our $400,000 for this physical year has already been spent.
No, we have $86,000 left on it, but that won't cover both of the repairs on this.
But will it cover one?
It would cover one, yes.
But then that would leave us without any if we needed something.
That would leave us without a piece of equipment, and it would. We use it also to buy parts, filters, any minor repairs, anything that comes in. It would basically leave us hoping nothing happened between now and August.
Okay. Yeah, it's just an awful lot of money. An awful lot of money.
But I certainly agree, but we stand back and look at the big picture. We probably have $7 million plus of equipment that we have out there, and you use that much equipment and things happen.
Yeah. Then you spend almost, a little over $500,000 a year to keep it up. Okay. I'll get off it. Okay. If no
Mr.
other
Chairman,
question, yes.
Could I ask one more question? Do you know why that engine seized up? That seems like an odd thing to happen. Did it freeze up, you say, and it overheated and froze up?
Chairman Humphrey, Supervisor Christensen, we don't know. No, it just locked up going down the road. I mean, come to a stop. We don't know what broke inside. We did haul it to Empire. It's sitting there waiting on this, or it'll sit there till a new contract comes into place. But right now, we don't know what happened.
Okay, and so that repair, is that an engine replacement, or is that a complete new piece of equipment?
We believe it'll be an engine replacement.
I see. Okay, thank you.
Okay, if there's no further questions, I'll call for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make the motion to increase the amount of the Sourcewell Caterpillar Empire Southwest LLC contract agreement, Sourcewell number 032119-CAT, by $160,000 for a new total of $560,000.
I will second that.
Having a motion and a second, all in favor do so by saying aye.
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 Aye. Item was approved. Moving on to I, Steve, this is yours as well. Information, discussion, action to approve major repairs to two pieces of heavy equipment, T-004 dozer and J-020 motor grader through Empire Southwest prior to August 2021 for a not to exceed $160,000. Steve Sanders.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. This is to get the work done on the equipment we were just talking about because it's over $50,000. It requires board approval. We're here to ask you to authorize the repairs.
Okay, thank you. Supervisor Christensen.
Thank you. No questions.
Supervisor Klein.
Steve, what was it been? A couple of years ago, we leased that piece of equipment in Young, the motor grader. So when you look at repairs like this on this J20 motor grader, that's an M. That's one of the newer machines, isn't it?
No, it's a 2014. The motor grader.
Okay, and so our lease on our new one is for how long?
I'd have to go back and look 3 to 5 years.
I guess what I'm saying is I mean, when you look at the cost of when something breaks on some of this stuff, sometimes those lease agreements look pretty appealing rather than this.
If this would have been under the lease, yeah, it would have all been taken care of and paid for.
Yeah. Okay, thanks.
And this $160,000 is the one from the prior agenda.
Yeah,
item,
exactly.
Correct.
What we were talking about. The
Okay, so
160.
we're not increasing it to 560 and giving them
No.
160 to fix it.
No.
Okay.
We just increased to 160.
Yeah.
And now it's to say, okay, go do it.
Okay. All right. Good enough. That's all the questions I have. Anybody else have any questions?
No, sir.
If not, I'll call for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the repairs to the two pieces of heavy equipment through Empire Southwest LLC as presented.
And I'll second that.
Having a motion second, all in favor, do so by saying aye.
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 Aye. Item was approved.
Thank you.
Okay, on to J. Information, discussion, action to adopt resolution number 2105-05, which authorizes the execution of an intergovernmental agreement, IGA 20-0008060-I, between Gila County, State of Arizona Department of Transportation to construct a bridge across Tonto Creek in Tonto Basin, Arizona. Steve Sanders.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. This goes back to our being a successful recipient of the build grant to fund the Tonto Bridge. We're working with ADOT to manage the project for us. We don't have the expertise, the knowledge, or the staff to do something like that. There was money in the grant application for the management of the project. So ADOT has agreed to manage the project. They will bid it, oversee it, inspect it, turn it over to the county when it's complete. The county will be involved along the way, but ADOT will do all the required reporting and management of the project. This IGA is for that. Happy to answer any questions you have.
Supervisor Christensen.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Sanders. So is this project scheduled or at all scheduled to start at any specific time? No schedule yet.
Chairman Humphrey, Supervisor Christensen, there is a schedule. It's not a firm schedule. There's a lot of variables to it, but right now we're hoping to have the NEPA reevaluation approved in August, late August. If we do that, then we will finalize the grant agreement between Federal Highways, ADOT, and Gila County, and we'll move to final plans and specs, utility relocations, bid advertisement, and hopefully we're under construction right after the first of the year.
I understood that there was a migratory bird study that was going to occur next March. I remember that.
They've been occurring yearly.
Okay.
Every year we have them current. But there's willow flycatchers in the area, and the environmental document says there will be no clearing and grubbing from May to October is their nesting season. So right now we're trying to get everything in place, a contract awarded, and let so the contractor can clear and grub up till May. They can do other work, they just can't clear and grub.
I see. Okay, thank you.
Supervisor Klein.
So Steve, here not long ago, they listed the narrow-headed Gardner snake. Is that going to hold us up on that creek? Do you know? Have you heard anything?
Chairman Humphrey, Supervisor Klein, no, I don't believe it will.
Let's hope it doesn't.
They will, there'll be conditions in the document, whether a biologist has to clear the area before work happens in that area, or one has to be on site so many days a week, things like that. But no, I don't believe it's going to stop anything.
So then, and getting back to the ADOT overseeing this, they should come in and bid like for what we've got funded or budgeted for this project, you think, huh?
I do. When we sign the agreement with Federal Highways and ADOT, then we will, ADOT will turn around and bill us for this agreement, which is $2.8 million. We had that for whoever we hired to manage it. So we'll turn around and pay that, but that's all part of the agreement and stuff like that. But that part will be our match.
Okay. That's
The county put $3 million up as good faith to the project. That will take care of this.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Steve.
Just one question. Like you say, we put up $3 million for our match. Money prior spent for all the property and stuff that we've purchased, that doesn't go towards this as well, or no?
No, Chairman Humphrey, it doesn't. I believe it helped us in the successful getting the grant, showing that we had put a lot of money into the project, but we won't get paid back for it.
Okay, thank you. How sweet it is. Appreciate you pushing and working with all this, because it's got to be a lot on your plate, but we've been working at it for a long time, so I appreciate your persistence.
And we're close.
Yes, we are very close. We're closer than we ever have been, so let's keep rolling. Thank you. And if there's no further questions, I'll call for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'll make the motion to adopt resolution number 210505.
I'll second that.
Having a motion and a second, all in favor do so by saying aye.
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 Aye. Item was approved. Thank you, Steve, and congratulations on standing up with your knee. We'll get you. Thank you. Okay, moving on to K. Information, discussion, action to adopt revised policy number BOS-FIN-116, Public Safety Personnel Retirement System Funding. Mary Springer, you had to rest your back.
I'm back. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members, supervisors. So, per ARS statute, we have to post our PSPRS, Public Safety Retirement System funding policy. And so with this policy changes every year depending on what the PSPRS actuarial comes up with numbers. And so we talked quite a bit with a fellow named Clark Partridge down at PSPRS. And as of June 30 last year, we had a negative balance of $638,000. We did pay off, try to get us to 100% funded with our bond financing. And so between what we paid, what we owed, and what we from July 1 through December 8th, we actually overpaid somewhat into PSPRS because the funding didn't occur until December. So we paid $368,000. So the difference between the 600 and some and the 300 is about $330,000, according to their actuarial evaluation as of June 30 last year. Now, the good news part is they're tracking at least a 14 to 14.8% return on investment. What that means to us is the difference, that $330,000 difference, could be a net neutral to us. We're not going to know until June 30. So we built our policy this year, not providing any additional funding until we know what that number is going to be, but we're actually building it into our budget for next year. Should we have to owe funding to get us back to 100%, we're building it in our budget. But we're showing it in our policy as a negative $330,580. but we do have a plan to address that so we maintain our 100% funding. So we also show adult detention and dispatchers. We don't have to. That's not part of this policy, but we show that and we include it so you can see where we're funded for both of those pension plans. And so both adult detention and dispatchers are overfunded at this point. So we're not making any recommendations of providing any additional funding for those plans. So if you have any other if you have questions, I'll be happy or try to answer.
Thank you very much. Supervisor Christensen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, Mary, if I understand, this is just part of a process that we're just approving that it continues. I'm a little lost, I guess, is what I'm saying. So the $300,000, you're asking us to approve that, and or was that already part of a plan going forward, and you just need the approval to execute it?
Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Christensen, no, we're actually asking to approve the policy, and the number included, that 330. When we come to you with the tentative budget, we will be building that number into the budget for next fiscal year. So that way we have it budgeted should we need it. We're hoping we don't have to based on what the valuation is at June 30 of this year of the PSPRS plan. It's just the approval of the policy at this point.
And the policy is to pay. What's the policy? I'm sorry.
No problem, and I don't mean to confuse you. It's showing the public how we're funded, how these plans are funded.
Okay.
Because prior to you approving the bond funding last year, we were woefully underfunded. So, and this is our pension monies for folks that have paid in prior to 2017. So what this does, it shows the public where our funding level is. And that's all it is posting it on. We have to post it on our website so the public, it's made available to the public to see where we're funded.
Thank you, Mary. Mr. Chairman, I believe Mr. Menlove has a comment that might be helpful.
Mr. Menlove.
Mr. Chairman and members of the board, this is a state law that was passed requiring us to have a board-approved policy on how we're going to fund. There are so many PSPRS plans that are woefully underfunded, as Gila County had been. And so the state law was, we want the public to be aware of what the county's plan, or all of the plans, what their plan is to get to full funding. Instead of having to report that we are $12 million underfunded and that we are going to have to pay $2-3 million every year to get us caught up, we now are just dealing with a $300,000 that is very close to just what is going to be taken care of by the investment, by the return on investment on those. So it is saying we, based on the actuaries, have a $300,000 unfunded portion of PSPRS, and this is our plan to get that fully funded.
Okay. Thank you.
Supervisor Klein.
Confusing, huh?
Yes.
So when this started, James, didn't we have in our policy that we had $1 million or something like that up for this?
Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Klein, we do have a reserve set aside for to ensure payments on the bond. So
just
yes.
like what we're looking at, but due to investments and whatnot, this may be a wash. We may be good at the end of the year, huh?
Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Klein, correct.
Yeah.
That's what we're hoping. In fact, we're hoping that return shows overfunded as opposed to just
that would be good.
Yeah, but we're waiting. June 30 is when the report is supposed to come out.
So, okay. All right. Thank you, Mary. I think I got it. Thanks, James.
Mr. Chairman, the difference is we were somewhere 30-40% funded, a balance of, I don't know, $6-7 million in our account. So the difference is we are earning this 14% on our $20 million, just making these numbers up, but $20 million, we're getting that 14% income. Instead of before, on the unfunded portion, 13 million, we would have been paying 7.3% on that balance. Because our balance is so low, we wouldn't have nearly the return on our investment on our balance that we have in PSPRS. That makes everything as clear as
Yes,
mud.
clear as mud. Supervisor Christensen, are you okay?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay, good. Yeah, that's the trouble of jumping into a train that's moving 70. Yeah, Jakes.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to add, so not to confuse you even more, it took about 7 phone calls to get them to give me a number, because we deal in numbers, not the what ifs. So trying to get, okay, we were this position on June 30 last year, we paid you this, investment income looks like 14% give me a number. 7 phone calls. So trust me, when you say you're a little confused, it took 7 phone calls and it got me to this.
Well, that's a relief, because I kind of felt like I was singularly the stupidest man in the room at the moment.
No, just uninformed on some of the past board decisions.
Okay.
Okay. If that's all, I'll call for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move to adopt that revised policy number BOS-FIN-116.
And I'll second that.
Having a motion and a second, all in favor do so by saying aye.
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 Aye. Item was approved. Moving on to L, information, discussion, action to adopt resolution number 21-05-04, appointing Mary Jane Springer, Financial Director, as the Chief Financial Officer for Gila County as required by Arizona Revised Statute 41-1279.07E. Mary Springer?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members, supervisors. This is kind of an annual ask. It's a requirement when we file our audit reports with the Auditor General. I have to sign a statement and provide the resolution showing that you've designated me as the CFO, that I'm authorized to submit those reports. So again, I'm coming back to you this year to be your CFO. So I ask you to approve.
Thank you very much. Supervisor Christensen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I hope you enjoy the pay increase. I have no questions.
And all the glory.
Wait, that's not part of the deal here. Supervisor Klein.
Thank you, Mary.
Okay. Mr. Menlove.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to express appreciation to Ms. Springer. She is a great benefit and blessing to Gila County. Just for the mere fact of our audits, that we know that we were so far behind, we were losing grant money, we were not able to do the things that we need to do for the public to be transparent and current. Under Mary's leadership and Mary's direction, we are current with our audits. We have been able to maintain a AA credit rating with Standard & Poor's, which even the larger counties, Pinal County is a AA minus. Other rural counties especially do not get to AA. Under Mary's direction and leadership, we have received that twice now, that we have been given that designation, that we are very financially sound and that we are going in a good direction. And that's a big part of Standard & Poor's. What their rating is are we tracking good? Are we headed in the right direction? And we are. So I am so grateful for Ms. Springer and all that she does for Gila County, her sacrifices and her commitment to ensuring quality in our finances.
Thank you, James.
Thank you, Mary.
Any further questions from the board? Mary, thank you for all you do and your presentations today. And
Thank
on
you.
that, I'll call for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make the motion to adopt resolution number 210504.
I will second that.
Having a motion and a second, all in favor do so by saying aye.
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 Aye. Item was approved unanimously. Mary, thank you very much. Moving on to M, information, discussion, action to consider a sealed bid for the purchase of Assessor's Tax Parcel Number 101-07-123, and if accepted, authorize the chairman's signature on a quitclaim deed. Marion Shepherd.
Thank you, Chairman Humphrey and board members. This property is located in Hayden, and the previous property owner did not pay taxes for 7 consecutive years. Therefore, it was deeded over to the state in 2014. It did not sell at our annual board auction, so therefore it was put on a list to be purchased year-round. We do have a sealed bid process whereby an adjoining landowner may submit a bid that is less than the lien amount, and the board can consider that. So this is the circumstance with this one. I have a bid from Glenn Woodland. He is an adjoining landowner, and what's really nice about this one, you know the situation in Hayden, there's a lot of blighted properties. He wants to put in greenhouses for a community garden next to his property. And he said, the land is currently a junkyard, a serious danger zone, and blocks all access to my property entrance. We have exhausted all other routes of cleaning it up and seem to be hitting roadblocks since we don't own that land. It is extremely unsafe for children and our pets to be walking through, and unfortunately, we have no other option to get to our front door. We have put in over 80 hours of manual labor cleaning up this land already, but need to own the rights to it before we can have the abandoned vehicles removed and continue to maintain the work we have already put in. So the lien amount right now is just $865.62, and if I may open the sealed bid envelope.
You may.
Thank you. I have a bid for tax parcel number 101-07-123 from Glenn Woodland in the amount of $150.
Thank you very much. Supervisor Christensen, questions, comments?
It seems to me like it would be a great benefit that Mr. Woodland would be able to obtain the property. I have no questions.
Supervisor Klein.
Yeah, there's no doubt if this guy's willing to buy this property and clean it up, it's a win for us and get it back on the tax rolls, so I'm good.
And again, I love to see these homeless properties find a home, so get them back on the tax roll. So thank you very much, and if there's no further questions, I'll call for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move to accept a bid from Glenn Woodland in the amount of $150 for the purchase of Assessor's Tax Parcel Number 101-07-123.
And I'll second that.
Having a motion and a second, all in favor do so by saying aye.
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 Aye. Item was approved unanimously. Okay, moving on to number 4, consent agenda action items. Any matter on the consent agenda will be removed from the consent agenda and discussed and voted upon as a regular agenda item upon the request of any member of the Board of Supervisors. Does anyone from the board care to remove anything from the consent agenda items and discuss it individually?
Mr. Chairman, I would like to point out that item B is the appointment of Republican Party Precinct Committee men, one of which is Sarah Burkhart, who is my daughter. And if this is a conflict, then I would recommend that we remove it and vote on it separately, and I will recuse myself in that vote.
I guess that would be a question for Jeff or our county attorney.
I'm trying to run that conflict of interest statute through my mind. It would have to be if you are going to vote on something that's going to be a pecuniary benefit to you. Your daughter being a precinct committee chairman, it doesn't pay anything, I don't believe.
No, I guess my concern was that I'm going to be running for re-election, and if she's in the same district I am in and working that way, I just felt it might be easier to pull it out and play it safe.
I think it would avoid any appearances of impropriety, but I'm having serious doubts that it runs afoul of the conflict of interest statute, but definitely would clear you, and as far as just an appearance, if you want to pull it out.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, I would recommend we do that.
Okay, so pull it off the consent agenda items and
Vote on it separately after.
vote on it separately. Okay, and that is what number?
That's 4B.
4B. Okay.
Do you need a motion to do that?
I need a motion to pull 4B out of consent agenda action items and be voted on as a regular action item.
I'll move as presented.
I will second that.
Okay, having a motion and a second. All in favor, do so by saying aye.
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 Aye. Item was approved to be taken out of consented agenda action items and put on a regular agenda item. And so having been moved to a regular agenda item. Oh, no. Okay. Then we need to vote on it.
There's no vote needed as long as a supervisor requests an item to be moved off the consent as a regular, it shall be moved.
Okay.
And then you just need to vote separately on that particular item. So we now just need a vote on that item.
Oh, okay. So, without any discussion, correct? No discussion necessary? Okay, okay. All right. Then I will open for discussion 4B. If there's any discussion, Supervisor Christensen, you've already kind of given your 2 cents on. Supervisor Klein, would you
I'm
care to
good.
comment? Jeff, James, you guys fine? And I'm fine, so I'll call for a motion for 4B.
Mr. Chair, I'll make the motion to approve 4B of the consent agenda items.
I'll second it. Having a motion, a second, all in favor do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Item was approved. So now I will go back to number 4, consent agenda items, and ask for a motion A, C through L.
Mr. Chair, I'll make the motion to accept consent agenda action items 4A and then 4C through 4L.
I will second that.
Having a motion, a second, all in favor do so by saying aye.
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 Aye. Item was, agenda items, consent agenda items were approved. Okay. Moving on to 5, call to the public. Do we have any public up in Payson that would care to address the board today?
No, we don't.
Do we have anyone on Zoom land? And we have no one here that cares to address the board today? Okay, then we'll move on to 6. At any time during the meeting pursuant to ARS 38-431.02K, members of the Board of Supervisors and County Manager may present a brief summary of current events. No action may be taken on items presented, and I usually forget Mr. Minlove, so Mr. Minlove, would you please go first?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do have a few items today. First of all, that we've had an ongoing issue with a property tax distribution for what occurred to a lot of our taxing entities, fire districts, school districts, and such in the northern portion of Gila County. We, as a team with the Treasurer's Office, Sarah from Heinfeld Meach, and with Finance Department, went to a number of those entities, sat down with them, and walked through what the process that was done by not only Sarah Kirk from Heinfeld Meach, but Max Wyman he's a data specialist that went in and looked at the errors that were in the software and corrected those. So that all has come to a conclusion, thankfully, and the treasurer in the last week has posted everybody's restoration of cash. So some of them, it was money in going out to other entities. The county was not a factor in that. It was just money in and money out. So the county did not benefit from as an additional revenue to Gila County. But just want to make you sure you're aware that that has taken place. Not heard any calls or had any, Mary's not piping up, so I think I think everybody's accepted that and gone through. So that has been settled and put to bed. The American Recovery Plan Act, there's another one that involves Mary that last week that money was made available on May 10th, but it required a very extensive application process. I think Mary had to give a pint of blood and a few other things. That it was quite an extensive application process to the Department of Treasury. So Mary has taken care of that, got the application in for what will be just less than $5.25 million that we will receive shortly of the American Recovery Plan Act. And we are intending to have a work session in June with Ms. Patty Power that is digesting all the guidance, and what we have is still not completely given to us of how we can spend it, what reporting we're going to have, and all that. We need to be able to, before, in my opinion, we start spending dollars, we need to know how we can spend it and the purposes we can fulfill, and then what the reporting requirements are on those and what the audit requirements are going to be. So that is ongoing. I wanted to report that Darren Frank of our facilities, he did leave us, got a new job, and so Chris, Mr. Romiti, is I believe that you're taking over at facilities and giving. I'm doing something. Yeah. We are well covered, well represented in facilities, but Chris is leading the charge with facilities for now. And the last thing is we had a tax sale here today, and Ms. Shepard has been doing a lot of research on what is the best way to ensure that we are getting the most revenues that we can possibly get out of our tax sale. So she is proposing, and that we will do, is to take all those that have been back, and our most recent tax sale was online, and it was very successful, thanks to Marion and Missy and putting all that together. But to be able to do that for tax parcels that have been sitting and not do anything just because they've been deeded over the state, that we can call all those back and put them out on an online auction. That thankful to Marion and Missy for doing that, again, to get these properties moving. Mr. Chairman, with your authorization, Ms. Shepard, would you care to comment about what you're doing with that new process?
Go ahead.
Thank you, Chairman Humphrey and Mr. Menlove. I'm going to turn it over to Missy because I have to give her all the credit. She took the lead on this first-time public surplus auction, and so she can give you an update.
Okay, so the first auction for the 2020 year has not finished yet. We still have one property that's kind of going back and forth because what happened was we had some people default, and once that happens, they can go to the secondary bidder, and then they give them a few days to see if they're going to accept that bid or not. I'm waiting on one, and then we should know the results of the auction itself. The ones that did not sell will automatically be put to a relist and get ready for the over-the-counter list that we have, our for sale list. We're going to start inputting those into the public surplus auction site, and hopefully we will have a really good turnout. We had over 150 bidders on the 14 properties that we had listed this go-around. Now, a lot of those were double bidding and having bidding wars, but still phenomenal compared to the 7 that we normally get. We usually get like 5 or 7 people that show up for the auction. So we're hoping that when it's all said and done, and it's going to take me some time because I have to manually enter these items into the public surplus site, but I only have to do it once. So if they don't sell, they just kind of keep repeating. Really anxious to go through it because it was, after the items are inputted, it is an extremely easy site. And so much, these people were just phenomenal to work with. And I am excited to see how it turns out. So,
Mr. Chairman, I might just add that Ms. Henderson is talking about the bidding war. What that means is if there's a tax that there's $1,000 of back taxes due, that with the bidding, that could go up to $2,000, $3,000, $4,000. And so when there's 150 bidders online and looking at each of these parcels, it's driving the price up. So everybody, all the taxing entities that relate to that parcel are benefiting from that increased competition, increased opportunity to bid against each other. So thank you, Missy and Marion.
Okay, thank you. Supervisor Christensen.
Thank you, Chairman. I gave some money to the Tonto Rim Search and Rescue to purchase from my constituency fund, to purchase a self-contained radio system that is desperately needed by them. This is going to really be a very good and positive impact for their rescues. It should make their rescues safer, shorter, more accurate, and save the county money, or should I say the Sheriff's Department, with overtime and all kinds of things. So it's going to save not just money, but lives and injuries. So I was happy to do that. They're very happy to receive that. It was on their dream list. Last Saturday, I was at the Republican Club had a highway cleanup, so I went and helped with that. Cigarette butts are the biggest offender. There was probably 30 of us, so that was great. I have a Fossil Creek meeting. It's the second meeting where we're putting together all of the major players, and that will be next Wednesday, the 26th, and I'm very encouraged by what's happening with that. I hope to have very positive news soon on that. I'm heading to the ECO meeting today for 3 days, and it's going to be in some nice place up by Greer, so I'm going to try and suffer through that and hopefully learn more. Gary Hart Memorial Rodeo in Payson coming up this weekend if you'd like to attend. We do love our rodeos. And I will be speaking on Monday, the 24th, at the Rim Country Republican Club. It's a luncheon. So that's what I'm doing.
Well, thank you. Supervisor Klein.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So Thursday, day after tomorrow, I have a meeting lined up with Matt Pachorik, the district ranger in Payson and Pleasant Valley. And this will be on the admin site. We have the numbers now from the assessor's office, and so we'll be working with all that and laying all that out. Last week I met with Supervisor Nelson Davis in Sholo. Nelson is Cameron Davis's brother. Very nice guy. Had a really good meeting with him. And then next week, I'm hoping to get a town hall scheduled for Payson, looking at next Thursday. And starting tomorrow, the 20th and 21st, there'll be trash pickup days in Gilson Wash on San Carlos Reservation. And our landfill is cranked in with that and going to bring the dumpsters in and out of that. Also, if you guys remember a year ago, I believe it was, the Copper Corridor applied for an EPA grant, about $600,000, and didn't get it. They were right there. They didn't get it. Well, this year they got it. And so Kathy will give us a rundown on that.
Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Christensen, Supervisor Klein. Yes, last year we came to you and we were applying through a consortium. The Copper Corridor Blight Busters is the name of the group, and it was actually formed by Superior Mayor Mila Besic. So these communities, and I think if I can remember all of them, it's Globe, Miami, Hayden, Winkleman, Mammoth, Kearney, and then Pinell County in the unincorporated areas starting from Winkleman all the way down to Oracle, I believe. So anyway, we applied last year. According to our review, we just barely missed getting the grant. I sometimes don't trust that when they tell you that. But anyway, they said we barely missed. So this year, Amy Staton with the Finance Department and I looked at last year's grant. We beefed it up and resubmitted it, and we were awarded $600,000. And this morning I received an email. I was going back and forth with Travis Barnum with ADEQ, and he said that Arizona this year received 5 grants from EPA to the tune of $2.95 million. So that's a lot of money coming in for cleanup projects. And this consortium grant will do assessments of older buildings in the area, like to assess if they have asbestos or lead in them. And so once those assessments are done, then you can apply for either rehab money or demolition money to come in and do the cleanups. And it's a 4-year grant. Any questions?
Huge plus for Gila County in that corner down there, in the whole corridor. So
Yeah.
it's a really good start.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. That's all, Mr. Chair.
That's all. Okay. Well, I attended a District 2 team meeting. That's just a kind of a team I put together to help get some projects done in District 2. Held a Roosevelt community meeting. I really like my community meetings. I'm glad to have those back open again. Attended Arizona Fire Adapted Communities meeting. Met with Chris Jones to discuss wildfire prevention. Just trying to work out with the Forest Service and all the entities that we can on protecting private property from some of these forest fires. Attended a composting update meeting. That's something that we have a pilot program with the state, hoping that's working and will work out well enough to someday bring to the board. And to clarify, well, first, Missy, thank you very much for going on that with 150 bidders. I can only imagine the phone calls that you received and answered from 150 people curious about properties that they've never seen, trying to get something done over the computer. So hats off to you. That has to be an ongoing difficulty, but how sweet it is, and thank you very much for helping us get some of these properties back. And then back to Mr. Minlove, would you please confirm that she did not really have to give a pint of blood, being that we're on YouTube and it just went out to the world that our finance director is having to give blood to keep Gila County on the level?
Mr. Chairman, I do not believe that physically there was a pint of blood given. But it was quite rigorous, the requirements for registration with the Department of Treasury.
Yeah, no, thank you very much. I just thought I would clarify that because we all knew what you meant, but if there was somebody in Zoom land that did not, I'd just clarify that we're not really donating blood to keep Gila County on the level. So
thank you, Mr. Chairman.
That's all I have, and if no one other has anything else, I will adjourn today's meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.